longer opening there because I've been gone for a couple of days. I figured I could try and extend my mini getaway for just an extra 30 or 40 seconds, but apparently not. Monday here on the program, JD, good to be back in the house with you. Good to have you on board. Always appreciate when you carve out some of your time to spend with us here on the program, where we like our flying a little turbulent, our women a little crazy, our politics a little messy. It's just Brad and me today. Brad's producing. Brad's working the board. Brad's doing the Skype. Brad, don't screw up. A lot on your shoulders today, buddy. A lot on your shoulders.
Something will go wrong.
Something will go wrong? All right, well, I'll tell you what. I'll take the heat off you, and I'll make sure I screw up first so that at least I've created the space where mediocrity reigns supreme. Kind of like what our president thinks about the country and the middle class. Anyway, hope everybody had a great 4th of July holiday, getaway, whatever it was you called it that you did. It was always nice to see different part of the country, different temperature. I left Las Vegas, it was 104. I got to San Diego, it was 62. I was debating myself in the car going over the Coronado Bridge whether or not I should put the heat on because that just seemed to be a little wimpy when it was July 2nd.
Well, did you have the top down? Just have the top down. That's acceptable.
Top down on a Tahoe? What do you think? I went through a low overpass and took it off like a can opener? No, I did have the sunroof open, and I was like, it's 42 degrees colder. And I was debating with myself whether or not to turn the the seat heaters on because I didn't want to appear to be a wimp. But then I reminded myself that I was alone with myself, a quality time spent with myself. And, it was nice, though. 42 degrees cooler. I think tomorrow here in Las Vegas, it's 114. So if you're looking for some place where you might want to sweat to the oldies with Richard Simmons and drop a few pounds, just take a walk along the strip with the Turistos, and you can then star in Extreme Makeover Weight Loss Edition. The poll question up there for you today at the website, jerrydoyle.com. The Socialist In Chief, that would be the collectivist redistributionist socialist President Obama, wants to eliminate the Bush-era tax cuts for households earning over $250,000 a year. So the question I ask is, what percentage of the deficit is left to be paid for by the middle class? And I put middle class. Is that over if you do that thing with your fingers where you go
air quotes?
Middle class? Air quotes?
Yeah.
Is that as out as air supply? is that anyway? So what percentage of the deficit is left to be paid for by the middle class? I just did the finger thing. After all, the rich people get soaked for even more money because they're not paying their fair share in this class warfare that's being played by this president. Your choices are 55, 65, 75, 85, or 95%. You can't fool Mother Nature, and you can't fool the audience here on the program. 81% say 95% left to be paid for by the supposed middle class. We'll take your answer there at the website or here at 800-876-4123 on the program where intellectual anarchy is encouraged and nurtured for now. Now, speaking of paying for things, apparently in some of the things that I've been catching up on while I was away for a couple of days, I realize now that I'm not in touch with the things I should be in touch with. I still judge things based upon old standards. I still look at things the way, I guess, is passé now as far as how you keep score, which we don't do in a lot of games anymore because that's rude. Like Brad, for example, is a soccer coach. Are you a soccer dad? Would you be considered a soccer dad and a soccer coach?
I'm a dad first, coach second, yeah.
Dad first, coach second. Okay, so Brad coaches soccer, and we're going to talk a little bit about parenting because modern parenting was discussed at the Aspen Ideas Festival. Things like the economic crisis, overpopulation, threats to democracy, and modern parenting is one of the ones that they added to, I guess, nuclear proliferation. Oh, speaking of, we got a video up on the website under Should These People Have Nuclear Weapons?
Love it.
It's the nightly border crossing between Pakistan and India, right?
Yeah, it's phenomenal.
You have to watch this. It's not a spoof. It's not a skit. It's not Monty Python. It is actually what two nuclear-armed countries do every night to make sure that we know the borders are secure. I'm a little more concerned about how secure the nuclear weapons are. But check it out on the homepage at jerrydoyle.com. It will give you a giggle. But as far as this modern parenting thing goes, they're saying we have to look at things differently than we did in the past. And again, we've talked about this in the past on the program, that maybe I'm old school, maybe I'm just old, maybe I'm just rigid in my way of thinking. Not everybody wins. Some people lose. Not everybody gets a trophy. We do grade in red. People do get an F instead of an A. People do get left behind instead of retained. There are winners and there are losers. But in this modern parenting, the way we have to judge things now somewhat differently. We have to look at whether or not we're fostering resilience in our children. We have to praise their effort rather than their intelligence. We have to train them in traits, not reading, writing, and arithmetic, but optimism, flexibility, and curiosity. And we have to help them to understand the values of being ordinary. Now, ordinary and extraordinary were two different things when I was growing up. What was extraordinary to me about what Brad was talking about with regard to him being a dad/soccer coach is that if the team you tell the story. The team that you coached, if they scored more than a certain number of goals, they were disqualified, correct?
You could lose by scoring too many points. If you had 6 or more points than your opponent, you were automatically disqualified. You lost by scoring too much.
Now, what happens if you accidentally were trying to not score and scored? Let's say you were trying to keep the ball from going in your own goal, and it goes in your goal, the other team's goal, and then you get that 7th. You lose even on a miscue?
It's so hard to do because my team, it was a couple of occasions where we were up by 6. If we went up one more, it had been game over, literally. So it was tough.
Wow. We're losing it, folks. Now, a couple of things that I caught from our redistributor in chief. Obama is trying to get us to rethink what it is we are as a country, who we are as people, what it is to compete, how it is we measure whether or not we're competing at any level, I guess, that we would want to measure. But we used to be able to measure things in certain ways. But now Obama says that the middle class, now when you think middle class would be what? You lived in a middle-class home, you made a middle-class salary, you drove a middle-class car, your kids went to middle-class vacations, maybe, it's a reason it's called the middle. And there are certain metrics or benchmarks by which we would measure who's on the top, who's in the middle, who's on the bottom, who's trending up, who's trending down, the size of the middle class. We keep hearing about how we have to preserve the middle class and the assault on the middle class by this president that says he wants to rescue. Now he's talking about the middle class as not being a number or a size home or a place that you live or a car that you drive or a job that you have. He says the middle class, it's an attitude.
And middle class is also an attitude. It's not just about income. It's about knowing what's important and not measuring your success just based on your bank account. But it's about your values and being responsible and looking after each other.
Who are these nimrods in the background that are agreeing with this guy? Yeah, you tell him. You go, Barack. Yeah, middle class is an attitude. I got a whole wheelbarrow full of attitude, and I'm going to take it down to the Cadillac dealer. Here you go. Give me that new XCTS. Yeah, leather interior, of course. Yeah, Cerium XS. Load it up. Payment. Yeah, I got a big smile for a down payment, and I got a whole lot of optimism for the future that I'm going to be able to make those payments. I got a FICO score of minus 482, but I got a new attitude from my head to my shoes. What kind of a planet is this Nimrod from? It's an attitude. Now, on the program, we talk about attitude controlling your altitude, a flying axiom. Your attitude controls your altitude. You want to constantly keep an upward trajectory as you gain altitude. You don't want to get too high, you stall out, you crash. You don't want to get too low, you auger in. Attitude controls altitude. But now attitude controls your bank account, your mortgage payment, and your car payment. Go down to the grocery store and say, I'd like a loaf of bread. What are you going to pay with? Attitude. How fast are you going to be out on your ass on the street? Go ahead, get 2 shopping carts full of stuff at the grocery store and just go, ta-da, Mr. Attitude here. Make sure it's all ice cream, too, so that it all melts while you're negotiating with the person at the checkout counter. And I want to use my rewards card, too. I mean, that's this president. Now, here's the question I have. How is it that Mitt Romney isn't trouncing this guy? Where is Waldo? Where is Mitt Romney? Now, Mitt Romney's not hip. He's not cool. He's not anything that you would go, yeah, I really look forward to hanging out with him this weekend. Mitt Romney's like your accountant. Probably don't spend a lot of time with him, but you're glad he does what he does. I'm glad Romney does what he does. I'm glad he's good at what he's good at. He's not cool. He's not hip. And, okay, he rides on the back of a jet ski. That's not really a jet ski. What is that, a wave runner? It's more of a wave runner. Or a Sea-Doo, or whatever it was he was riding around on with Ann at the controls. I get the picture. Okay, it's not really the commander-in-chief, the guy who's in charge. They're going to nitpick everything that this guy does. We're going to talk with Jed Babin at the bottom of the hour because I'm getting some heat for putting the heat on Mitt Romney to step up, share moments, snap out of it, and moonstruck, get in the game. When you look at the numbers that this economy is giving us or not giving us, when you look at the ideology of this socialist, 60s radical, collectivist, redistributionist, ideological commander-in-chief, Obama, Romney should be pulling away. He should be establishing a certain line that he's on, that he's trending towards with regard to November, and he's not. And people go, oh, you're too hard on Mitt Romney. Somebody's got to get a foot in this guy's ass and wake him up and get going. If not him, the people in his campaign. If you look at the contest, there should be no contest. Obama should be losing on every aspect of anybody who rejects that this middle class is an attitude nonsense, that the character of the country hasn't changed, that you don't need to strive for anything. You don't need to really succeed. If you're buying into this whole modern parenting BS about the virtues of being ordinary, well, go ahead and check the box for Obama because you're going to end up in the league of ordinary people. But there's a reason Romney is not getting it, and part of the problem is Romney, which was even reiterated by people that were talking to the House Majority Leader, John Boehner, about Mitt Romney's friends and families and Mormons calling plan or voting plan. I'm listening to this guy going, really? And John Boehner basically said, yeah, look, we're not excited about this guy, Mitt Romney. He's got a bunch of friends. He's got some family. Hell yeah, and he's got those Mormons. They'll vote for him. That ain't going to do it. People aren't excited about Mitt Romney because Mitt Romney's not an exciting guy. And one of the things the Republicans are doing, they're killing themselves in constantly talking about Obama doesn't have a record to run on, but yet they keep running on the record that Obama doesn't have the record to run on. Instead of going on the offense, instead of selling what it is that Romney and the Republicans are going to do, what plans they have outside of the plans for jobs when Mitt Romney becomes president, which is a snow job, which means they have no real plan. They got to get on the offense, and somebody's got to put a foot in Romney's ass, and I'm going to continue to do it because, obviously, people inside the Republican Party think that just by bashing Obama, that is supposedly going to make you like Mitt Romney.
The Jerry Doyle Show.
That's the name of the show. The phone number is 800-876-4123. In the League of Ordinary Americans, the country that Barack Obama thinks we should aspire to, where attitude is everything, and money, it's just the way we used to keep score. Now we keep score by how happy we are. Stick with me.
And middle class is also an attitude.
This is the Jerry Doyle Show.